What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to episode 10 of Domiciled, the podcast that explores the subculture of truck drivers as well as logistics professionals bringing their stories to the masses. I'm your host, Scott Cleary. My buddy Paul is feeling a bit under the weather. Get well, my dude. So I'll be running solo tonight with Philip here. But with that being said, we won't have our typical banter, hence why Philip's right on screen with me now. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rolling with it. So our next guest started his career in transportation as a semi-driver, drawn by the allure, as he says it, of the open road and the independence that comes with being a truck driver. However, he experienced some harsh realities early on that not only taught him a lot, but led him to where he is today. So founder and CEO of CDL Protect Auto Club, that's what he's doing now. We will help, we're going to discuss this and much more on tonight's episode. So welcome to the pod, Philip Gocev. How are we doing, man?
Hey Scott, how you doing? Thank you for having me and for inviting me on your podcast. I really appreciate that.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Like we always say, we love talking to folks, and the goal really is to, people in logistics like myself, and I've said this on a few different episodes, but it never hurts to reiterate the reason we're doing this is people in logistics, we have an idea of truck drivers and what they do and how their days go, the subculture. But people, unlike yourself and I, and especially you used to be a driver, and we're gonna get into all that. They don't even have a clue about the subculture that's sharing the road with them every day, and everything in every room we're in got somewhere by being on a truck. So I really want to get those stories out there and advocate as much as I can, because there's a lot of linchpins in the supply chain that nothing works without it. But I do believe that drivers really are the heart. So you've got a pretty cool story from the little bit we've chatted so far. And I do want to start at that beginning and hear your story. Have some laughs maybe, and then, learn more about where you are today and what you're doing in the logistics space.
Absolutely. Now, yes, and I would fully agree. Truck drivers are basically the one part of that chain that without it, nothing works. Even if you have a brokerage, you have a trucking company, if you don't have the driver to actually go ahead and do the job, you don't have anything. And in the same part, truck drivers seem to be the most taken advantage of in the whole industry. The fleets are not much better off, but everybody else higher up in the chain, it seems to be enjoying a little bit less liability and less risk. Now, as much as my story as a truck driver, I like
let's start at the beginning.
to
Yeah,
say
wherever you
that
want to
I
start.
was the most unlucky truck driver ever. So basically, everything bad
You mentioned that.
went bad, it went bad.
Okay.
It was an experience that taught me a lot,
Okay.
huge amount.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The most memorable one, it would be, and yes, you're right. There is a camaraderie among the drivers on the road, at least among the older drivers. That is
Okay.
that have been on the road for a while. They understand that it's not everything about aggression and who is first on the highway. And
Okay. Yeah. Getting out of the truck
there's a
stop
little
first.
bit more of camaraderie over there, I would say.
Okay, gotcha. So do you find, during your time on the road, and how long were you a driver? I know you started back in 2012, but how long were you a driver? Did you hold that CDL?
About 4 years, four and
Okay.
something, almost five.
So
Actually, it
almost
may be
5 years.
even more. I had my accident at 2017, so 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, just about 5. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and that, I know the accident was that turning moment for you, and we'll get to that. I'm excited to get to that. So in those 5 years, like when do you think other drivers consider you like seasoned, or you're not a rookie anymore? Because I mean, you got 1, 2, 10 million mile drivers out there. So based on what your experience, when does that kind of kick in where you kind of get the nod instead of maybe the sideways look?
Whenever you perfect your dock parking, whenever you
Okay.
don't take other people's times over there, and people are not just slapping their forehead while they're watching you, I think that's the moment. Like, you go ahead and you have the intention to do it, and you do it right. You do it maybe not on the first try, but on the second one you're there, and it takes a little bit of practice until you get there. Unfortunately, right now, I think that most of the driving schools are not paying much attention to that part.
Really?
Whenever I was at school in Portland, Oregon, I actually took my driver's license, my CDL. They literally had us just repeatedly do 90 degrees parking for the better half of a month. So basically,
Really?
every day, numerous times.
I love it. Well, hey, you can't get good at anything without being A, sucking at it first, and then B, doing it a ton
Exactly.
of times. So essentially, if this was the dock door, they'd have you line up perpendicular and then back in and then out and back in, like just again and again.
Exactly. So basically, you go out at 90 degrees, you straighten all up, and then
Hmm.
you reverse and you try to just position it at the first time to get in. Just like a real life scenario at the warehouse, mostly.
100%. Yeah. And do you feel that during training was that the toughest part? You know, given since that's when seasoned drivers give you the nod, or what was the biggest challenge for you in CDL school?
I mean, that would be everybody's biggest
That's the
challenge,
big
I
one.
think. Yeah. That and also the shifter, it was manual back then. Right now, you have those automatics. Back then, you had to learn manual automatic.
Oh, okay. When
But
you started still on manuals,
yeah,
gotcha. Okay. And
the
so have
10
you
gears. Yeah,
10 gears?
yeah,
Okay, so I drive a 6 speed now, not even close to 10, and it's a lot lighter than an 80,000 pound semi fully loaded.
yeah.
Um, so what like one thing I meant to ask that I haven't asked, again, I've never driven a semi myself, and I'm again just trying to learn as much as I can. When
Mhm.
you're, of course, and I understand, RPM, torque, all that fun stuff, but when you're pulling out of a dock or just from a standstill with a full load, what gear are you starting in? Like you're not starting in first gear, right? Because it's too much.
Depends how heavy you are. You should start in first gear. I
Okay.
mean, you can start in second, probably in third, but like the more up you go, the more damage you will do to the transmission, obviously.
Right, you're revving
That's
without any movement. Yeah,
exactly.
I hear you. Okay, so even when you're fully loaded, you still do want to start in first just because the gear ratio makes the most sense.
Well, yeah, it just you're heavy, right? And if you
Hmm.
start with this with a gear that is with more speed and less torque, if that makes sense, it kind
Yeah,
of
no,
puts
absolutely.
unnecessary strain to the whole system.
No, I
But
mean, you're right, because actually now I'm feeling kind of silly because when I pull out of my street, I'm at a bit of an incline, and I have a two door, and if I forget to pop into neutral and I'm not paying attention, I was just sitting in second, and clutch in, brake on, waiting to pull out, and then I go. I'm like, oh crap! Like it takes a long time to get going in second unless you pump up the gas and pop the clutch. So I guess same applies, just
what do you
tying a
drive?
whole lot more weight. I drive a 2018 Mustang GT.
The,
She
the
yeah,
Mustang? Just
yeah,
don't
I
tell me
love
it's
it.
that electrical one.
No, 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 no. It's a
Okay,
six
good.
speed. It's a 6 speed
Yeah,
premium fuel, 5 liter Coyote engine. She's the real deal, man. I love that car.
nice.
I bought it brand new back in October of 2018, and at the time it was a bit of a stretch for a purchase, just given my income and all that. But I've been looking at Auto Trader for months, and it's just like the perfect one that I had in my head popped up. And I guess we're telling a quick sidebar on how I bought the car, but it, I it ended up being a total steal given what cars cost now. It
Oh
was
yeah.
like I wish I could find this car again, right? And I'm not selling it. And then
Did you
I
get
actually
any traffic tickets with that one? Because it
no.
seems like a fast car. You've
Oh,
been
she's very
careful, huh?
fast. Yeah, I mean 5 liter engine, right? 460 right out of the gate, so 460 horses. I've been pulled over a couple times, but no tickets. Which I understand you've had a few tickets. So in the semi world,
Yeah,
right? Which is
they're much tougher on that. Also, they don't just let you go. Even whenever they write you a warning, it's actually a
yeah.
harsher punishment than a traffic ticket. I don't know if you knew that.
No, so even if you just get a warning, it still hits your authority.
Oh, basically, whenever you're in semi,
Yeah.
you get a warning, you get an
Hmm.
inspection. That's
Hmm.
your death sentence. You're not able to remove it in any way because the
Ever
warning has no way, no process to be.
removed or
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So that's going to be a huge issue over there for truck drivers and companies because the company will have to charge the driver by the policies, like by their corrective action policies. They have
Right.
no choice. The DOT is mandating them; they have to push a corrective action. He made a violation, and then he's uh, feeling deceived because police officers will tell them, "I just a warning, it will not go on your record," but actually it does. It goes on
It
the
does.
PSP.
So do you think that the officers might not know that, or do you think they're just maybe not being as honest as they could in
Well,
that
right now
specific
we're
situation?
touching a very interesting subject. I don't know how much I will get into trouble by talking about this, but there is a legal police deception that is
Okay.
like just a part of the system.
Yeah.
The police officer can tell you anything.
Hmm.
In much extension of that, I mean, for the viewers and for yourself, if you want to
Yeah.
research,
Yeah.
you can go online and you can see that police officer is even allowed to fabricate an evidence during an interrogation just to pull you into the right direction. And those
You
are
know what
all
that
legal things for them to do.
right
They can
isn't
lie to
the
you about
rule
anything. You cannot lie to them about anything, but they can lie
right?
to you about everything.
That's right. You know what? I've luckily never had to deal too much with police except for your occasional traffic stop. But I watch a lot of police television. And one of my favorite NYPD Blue so you reminded me of that. I think the rule is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know this way better than I do. And again, we'll get into why in a little bit. I think the rule is as long as they don't do or say anything that would incriminate an innocent person, they can say or do whatever they want, right?
Well, the police officer can say literally anything. They can give you an information that, and right now probably you would remember because you watch those shows. They can even fabricate a statement from a witness that they
Right,
like. It's not true. They never said that, but they
right,
can read that to you just to pull out the information.
right,
They're allowed by law. That's legal.
right. So essentially, if I'm the officer and I have the statement, we use this napkin. I can say, "Hey, Philip, I have somebody saying that you were at this location." Signed statement, and that might be true that I have a signed statement that they said they saw someone there that might fit your description or whatever, but it isn't what they're saying isn't actually you because that is lying, but they want
I
to
don't
find
know
out
how
if
much
you're
it
actually
would.
guilty, right?
I'm not sure how much it would imply in real life. I only
Mhm.
know because I've read this, and this
Yeah,
is
yeah. It's
basically
interesting.
these are manuals that exist
Mhm.
online. You can even research them, or I can shoot them some to you if you want to. If any
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the viewers are interested to see that, but these are actually guides and manuals for field officers and how
Mhm.
they can behave and how they cannot behave. Now,
Interesting.
there may be unfairness into all of this. It may seem like it's unfair, but you have to view the other side. They're track.
Mhm.
These laws are made for bigger, much bigger threats. For
Right.
example, if they're much more serious cases than traffic tickets, right?
Of
Now,
course.
having that in mind, they are implying this sort of rules that will help them get the most outcome out of this interrogation.
I
Now,
see.
does this seem unfair to us as just bystanders and just observers? Yes, it does seem a little bit unfair. But
Mhm.
on the other side, it may be that it's justified just because of those much more serious cases. They have to have those types of rules over there.
Sure. Like you've got to, yeah, it's got to cover the really bad stuff, but like you said, it trickles down to the lighter stuff because it's still legal, even though it's meant for the real
Exactly.
bad things. That makes sense. So to that, in that vein, right? Let's start at that beginning a bit and work through your experience. So you started in 2012, again, the open road, the independence of being that truck driver, but like you said, you ran into a lot of trials, we'll call it.
Yeah,
So you get out of
not
CDL
lessons.
school,
Let's call them lessons.
lessons. All right, we'll call them lessons. Um, so you get out of CDL school, you hit the road. So are you working for a company? I know you said you started as a flatbed driver.
Mhm.
Um, so yes, like just start there and let's talk about those lessons a little bit. What are
Yeah,
some of those
the
lessons?
the first lesson I learned over there was that I mean, flatbed, I liked it. I really liked it because like it gives you this like 2-3 hours of physical activity per day, which you really needed whenever you're a truck driver.
Yeah.
You can gain a lot of weight, and it's just nothing you can do about it really, because
Mhm.
the job description is such that you spend whenever you're working, you're sitting. There's nothing
Yeah.
you can do, right?
100%.
So
Yep.
I like that part, but one of the first lessons that I learned is. And this was right after I got my first series of traffic tickets. That not every attorney is an actual good attorney. You
Yeah.
can end up with some type of a bozo that will charge you a lot of money, and
Uh-huh.
just because you don't know, you will end up paying a lot of money, and your then it's much more difficult to repair that. The other good lesson I learned is never stay in a workplace that doesn't pay you for longer than a week. They miss the payment, get out of there. They will just end up owing you more. And
Gotcha.
a lot of these companies, they're acting with impunity. Like they have the right to just cut and garnish the check whichever way they want and they see fit, which it can be really predatory at times. They are
Mhm.
really putting one type of approach to all of the situations, and most of the situations don't call for that type of approach. Um, for example, they will put
Yeah, please.
tire waste, like tire threat,
Like
like
attrition, yeah.
expenditure of tire, or they will cut your escrow for some weird reason that makes no sense. Something that is completely out of your hands, like for example, you got a violation for light, but in the morning you checked, it's all there now.
Yeah.
They will charge you for that violation, even
Mhm.
though it's not fully in your control. um, uh, it can be very unfair for drivers, and I know there will be drivers that will agree that they had a situation like this.
Mhm.
Whenever they want to cut ties with you, it's like it's first like this. Whenever they want you to start working with them, there you will get the best treatment possible. They're your brothers, they're your
Yeah.
family, they're this, that. Now, whenever you get to separate parts for any reason, you're the divorced husband. You're getting
Yeah.
out of the house with nothing and with your
Mhm.
bags in your hands and literally nothing. Like you have to figure out where you will sleep tonight. So it
Wow.
can be
Okay.
very predatory towards truck drivers over there. Now, for any drivers that have that type of situations, we're offering free consultations. We can see what we can do uh, to
Mhm.
try to help them out.
Great. Okay. So at CDL Production, so you brought it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get a little bit into what you do at CDL Protect, and then we'll get back into some of those specific examples you have that again brought you to founding CDL Protect. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that and what you do for drivers and for the logistics industry.
So basically, at Civil Protect, we have a nationwide network of attorneys for traffic tickets. That's
Okay.
one part of that. But we're also offering all sorts of discounts for tax preparation, for incorporation for truck drivers. We're also helping drivers whenever, God forbid, they're in a situation like that, even many times out of charge, free of charge, just to help them out because. They're a crucial part for the whole economy. If enough of
Mhm.
them just lose their jobs, everything will get dramatically more expensive for all of us. So
Yeah,
we have to take care of those guys, you know. Uh,
100%. Absolutely.
Now, other than that, like I mentioned, we're helping them against those predatory companies. We will review the case, what exactly happened, what exactly were the charges for, was this uncalled for? Can we somehow pressure the company maybe to pay off those funds to those drivers?
Gotcha. So essentially, like you said, there's predatory attorneys out there, or as you said, bozos, right? Maybe just people who aren't good at what they do. And you're essentially like, hey, we have a company. whose founder used to be a truck driver, and I'm here to help you find the correct resources to fight those tickets. Or it sounds like even predatory former employers as well,
Yeah.
or current employers, maybe even.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, when you were a driver, going back a little bit, you mentioned some of these traffic tickets, accidents, breakdowns, cheated out of payments, right? So with with the traffic tickets, you felt weren't as fair. Like, what are some specific examples? Like, what are some that occurred that you remember that stand out clearly that you're like, wow, I wish I had like a CDL Protect at the time.
Yeah. So basically, my very first time, whenever I got the traffic ticket, I actually received three at once, and three of them
Oh
moving
gosh.
violations. This
Hmm.
was in Illinois. It was here
Okay.
in Illinois, and
Hmm.
basically, it started there. So basically, the officer has cited me. I cannot recall the exact violation, what it was. It was.
Whatever,
Uh,
just make it sound worse than it was, just for the entertainment value.
Basically, he wrote three, but they're kind of all in the same narrative. I'm trying to remember,
Yeah.
but basically, it's all one violation, just
Yeah.
formed in three different ways, which makes
Sure.
it three different violations. And now, most truck drivers know that most insurances will not even accept you. Like, they will not touch you if you have three moving violations in the period of 12 months.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
So basically, he wants to just cut you out of the market right away. So that
Right.
was it felt very unfair whenever I find that one out. And then, while not knowingly what I'm doing, I
Right.
hired an attorney that charged me like $6,000 for
Hmm.
those three violations.
Okay.
Uh, Turned out that the guy didn't do such a good job.
Hmm.
And then one of these violations was removed. Two of them remained, which was still a really an easy case because the three of them were kind of
The same.
pointing towards one, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Absolutely. I know what you're talking
one
about. So it's
reason.
right.
So that was the other bad mistake I made. And then, if I had a membership by that time, probably this would have been all covered under the membership, and I wouldn't have to deal with these crooky lawyers that
Yeah. Yeah.
just overcharge you and don't even do the job all the way through.
Right. Okay. And then how long into you being on the road did this occur?
This was so I went on the road like April, the end of April. This was August.
August. Okay. So about 4 or 5
Not
months in.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And you were working for a company at the time, or you were an independent
yeah, yeah,
owner?
yeah.
Okay. So
I was
so that's
full with
interesting.
the
You
company.
go ahead.
I was just trying to confirm, yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you're working for a company, but you still had to get your own lawyer. Like the company at the time didn't provide any assistance, or like tell me about that. Like, when I'm sure you told them like, hey guys, this just happened. What do I do? Like, how'd that go?
Okay. We are touching on another interesting subject, and that's going to
Hmm.
be independent contractor misclassification.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
most of these drivers, there will
Hmm.
be in exactly the same situation that I was in. That
Okay.
puts you in, by the terms of the book, you should be an employee,
Okay.
but you are put as an independent contractor, and then everything is
On
your
you.
expense. Now, yes, you're making more money on paper, but you're also having a lot more responsibilities that you have to deal with. Now,
Right.
I
Insurance,
wouldn't
etc.
recommend that for people that are fresh out, they don't know what they're doing,
Hmm.
or at least consult with somebody who is experienced, like somebody who knows what's going on in that world, because you can get stuck with an agreement signing that
Yep.
you don't understand, and
Hmm.
it will have all sorts of weird language inside. Now, the good thing about that is that the Department of Labor, if it comes to that, will nullify that agreement if it doesn't check all of the boxes with their quiz for
Okay.
independent contractors. This is
Okay.
available even online. I can shoot you over a link if you want to.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
basically, this is what they use whenever they want to determine if somebody is independent contractor or if it's an employee. Now, that being said, if you're an employee that is renting out the vehicle from the same company, this is a huge benefit for the company because now they're suddenly not responsible for any repairs of the truck because you have a lease to purchase, and also
Yeah.
they're not responsible for fuel. You have to pay your own fuel,
Okay.
and you're paying for your own insurance, and
Hmm.
all of the other things that are making you a business owner. But the trickiest of the situations is where you are in this position and then you're
Hmm.
doing your taxes directly on your personal taxes. That
Yeah.
will dig you into the ground because you'll pay so much in taxes that you're not even aware of. Because all of those will go to Schedule C, and you don't enjoy any corporate deductions.
Hmm. Okay. So we had somebody on. He goes by cents per mile on YouTube. He and it is, Matt cents per mile, but he was talking about lease operator versus owner op and how owner ops will tell you that a lease operator isn't quite the same thing, but he's like, it really is. So is that kind of what you're talking about as far as like what's the box checks that make you an owner op or not? And then like you said, so it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you thought you were like a W-2 full-time employee, but you were actually like a lease operator and had a lot more like lease to own, and you had a lot more
I would just
responsibility than
see
you realize.
I was just an ignorant at that point. I was very young and
Yeah, yeah.
fresh even into this country. And
Hmm. Oh, okay.
what brings to that is uh, you don't know what's the difference usually whenever you're in that situation,
Totally.
and you're making assumptions which are not correct, and then you're
Hmm.
ending up in a situation that you don't know how to get out of. But uh, the main difference, I would say, with lease to purchase and full-on owner operator is the following: they can take the truck anytime they want.
Okay. So if you're a
You
lease
don't
owner.
own the truck, and many of these times, what makes these agreements predatory? Actually,
Hmm.
the FMCSA built a whole team against predatory lease agreements a couple of
Hmm.
years ago. I believe
Hmm.
there is a whole task force regarding that.
Yep.
But what's going on over there on that side is that if you cannot move that truck that you're leasing to purchase in a different company, you're technically an employee because
Right.
that's the biggest uh, other difference. So
Yeah,
one is
that's pretty
if
clear.
you're owner operator, you own your truck and
Hmm.
you can move it wherever you want. Or if you're leased to purchase, you don't really own the truck because you're still paying off.
Hmm.
Whenever you get the title in your hand is where you own the truck,
Right.
right?
Once you pay it off. Right. Right.
But in the meantime,
Hmm.
you can lose it, and also you cannot move it elsewhere to drive. Let's say you don't like the terms in this company.
Hmm.
Usually, I'm talking about 99% of all of the cases I've seen, the company will
Hmm.
not allow this truck to be driven elsewhere while it's still being paid off.
No, that makes
So,
sense because then they're semi-liable if something happens or their asset that they currently own
oh
could get
yeah,
damaged.
I mean they are definitely liable,
Hmm.
even in those cases where I mean, I really condone this type of behavior, even though there are fleets that are really unfair. This is not the way to go, drivers. Do not hijack trucks. Do not get yourself in a situation like that. Do not
Yeah.
run away with the vehicle, with the load. It's a much bigger trouble on the other side that you would realize you're uh, causing damage on multiple parties, including shipper, receiver,
Hmm.
insurances, and
Hmm.
it can get scary over there with a situation like that. But those oftentimes, what I would encourage drivers is if you have a problem, don't make a criminal act to
Oh,
actually
yeah.
solve your problem. There is ways we can fight that in a proper way,
Hmm.
play the game by the rules and
Hmm.
win by the rules. That's how you win at the game. If you steal the truck, if you hijack the truck in meantime, there's nothing that you can gain out of it
Oh,
afterwards.
you're dead in the water. Yeah, you're dead in the water at
You
that point.
will destroy your reputation, even if it comes out that at the end of the day, the company doesn't press charges, or you don't cause any larger damage to anything. Uh,
Right.
you will still ruin your reputation. You still stole a truck. This will still be reported into the verifications of employment, and
Yeah.
other companies would not like to basically hire those drivers. Those are
No,
high
of
risk.
course not. Yeah, so you said that very casually. Is that something that happens a lot? Like a lease purchase operator will feel that they're not being treated properly, or they feel like they have no way out, and they'll steal a vehicle, or they'll essentially.
Oh,
And when
there
you
is a
say
trend
steal it,
going on without even uh, a provocation like that.
okay.
Basically, it seems like there is a trend of some players. Usually, cases like this are showing up from Alabama, from
Hmm.
Georgia,
Okay.
Florida. But this is the common scenario. The driver will take the truck home, will park it in some weird place, and
Uh-huh.
then the truck just disappears.
They,
Uh,
they say they say it got
Many
stolen.
time with the cargo, many time with anything. The carrier has nothing to do with it. He doesn't know
Hmm.
anything, but now he's stuck with paying all of these insurance claims.
Oh, you're saying like it will get stolen, like somebody
Oh
does
yeah.
steal it. Oh,
Well,
okay.
I don't want to fully connect the dots that the driver is directly connected over there, but it seems to
But
be
they
a
could
pattern of
be.
that. Well,
Right.
it seems to be a repetitive pattern with the exact same scenario. So that's something that it's a common problem with drivers, even whenever they're not provoked. This, I think, some sort of a group that
Hmm.
maybe is doing this because it's the
Hmm.
same type of
Yeah, that's
behavior.
interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
maybe
And
it's
then, and
organized, maybe it's not. I
right,
will
like you
not
said, you
speculate.
might.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Changing pace a little bit, and that is interesting, right? Because there's a lot of so God forbid you're the poor guy or gal who leaves their truck somewhere, and it does, and then somebody thinks that you're trying to pull one over on them, and like, oh, the truck got stolen, and you have the insurance claims.
That's
It's
why
like,
I
no, like,
always park. That's why drivers always park in a place where it's
mhm,
secured, it's fast,
yeah,
and you have a camera. If you don't want this to be your liability,
there
but
you go. Yeah,
other
no,
than that, I mean, it's just negligence. At the end of the day, if it's not on
mhm,
purpose, then
mhm.
it's serious negligence. You left something very valuable somewhere where it cannot be monitored.
Right, of course, right. You got to do your own due diligence to make sure that your assets are protected. So you started with flatbeds. You said you liked that because it gave you the exercise, removed a little bit from the sedentary lifestyle. I totally understand. I sit at a desk all day, so mornings I go to the gym because you got to move. Um,
Exactly.
you said that you, as well, that you drove vans as well. So I said that twice, but either way, you started in flatbeds, moved to vans, and Paul, my co-host, who's usually on here, would be very upset if I didn't ask this question. So I'm going to do that for him. So we have
Okay.
found, or we're seeing our own pattern, Philip. So interviewing several folks, mostly so far specialized. Now we've interviewed flatbed drivers, fuel haulers, oversized, over dim haulers, and only one van so far. So you're the second van. The question is, there seems to be this unspoken or unwritten hierarchy of drivers and you're already chuckling, so I feel like you know about this. And people seem to rag on the dry van drivers because admittedly, like, okay, it's like you strap in, you're in the truck, you don't get out of the truck. But do you believe that there is a hierarchy on the road? And if so,
Competence hierarchy, yeah. Difficulty hierarchy, maybe, yeah.
okay,
There is.
okay.
Absolutely, there is.
How about just like for like the bragging rights piece, like people thinking that like maybe the dry van drivers aren't as skilled or
It
good.
requires that skill.
It does work. Okay, so you are saying Phillips on record saying drive-in driving requires less skill. Okay, and that's not a knock. We got a lot of stuff that needs to move in drive-ins, but
And
so is it
I can tell you why it requires less skill. First,
you're not getting out of the truck, right?
your well, you're not securing the load, yes. You're not tarping, yes, but also
Hmm.
like just driving the vehicle, your axles on a flatbed are spread axles,
Yeah.
right? So that makes a different movement of the trailer that you want to be aware of, and it's very easy to damage those tires. You cannot make way too sharp
Uh-huh.
of turns. That's
Okay.
that part, and then plus you can get all of the time oversized, overheight, overweight. Uh, it's just your everyday plethora of loads.
Yeah.
But drive end, it is simpler, and plus, even though it's simpler, it seems that the most claims on cargo are going with cargo vans. They're
Well,
not
they're not
securing
properly braced and
most of the
blocked.
time.
People just throw stuff in there, right?
They're
This is
well,
really at the shipper.
shipper most of the times will make a mistake, but also the shipper mistakes, it's actually a driver's mistake. I want to shout out one more to the drivers. If check every load, like after you
Yeah.
load the load, go in the back, look. If you don't like it, it's your
Take a
right. You actually
picture.
have a right.
Yeah. Hmm.
You actually have a right to deny the load until it's been reworked in a manner that you consider it safe, and this can be
Yeah.
done. Now don't be unreasonable, right? Be
Yeah, of course.
reasonable, and
Mhm.
contact the broker right away, the dispatch right away, put everybody into the chain, send pictures, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
of course.
they don't do that, and a lot of claims are going. I think that it may have the most amount of claims on drive, and I'm not sure. It would be a
Yeah.
speculation again.
So that actually reminds me of when I was a broker. I One of my horror stories was I was moving water out of Tampa.
Mhm.
And again, it's tough because like as the broker, the driver and that company, like you, even though you're marrying the shipper and the carrier, the shippers look at you like an extension of the carrier, right? So I had a load of water. Go ahead, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, because the carriers are looking as an extension of the
Yeah,
shipper.
the shipper, yeah. So we're just in the middle, like shit. Like, so and I
Unfortunate position to be in.
right, but hey, it got me to where I am, so I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
yeah, so like 44,000 because they push the weight as much as they can, right? Pound load of water out of Tampa, going all the way to LA to like a well, I guess I won't mention the name of the place. They didn't do anything wrong. But long story short, the load shows up and the water had just like shifted big time, right? Um, and it was white labeled too. It had like Harry Potter on it or something like that, I believe. I didn't know that until they sent me the pictures. But like the guy from the warehouse, the destination warehouse, called me like real mad, saying, "Hey, you got to get this reworked before you come back." I go, man, I'm in Tampa. Like I don't just have a warehouse in LA. This guy can go to like you can't unload him. Like how bad is it damage? He sends me the pictures, and then I don't remember all of the story because like the exact linear path of the story, but we sent him back and forth a couple times. We found somebody to like rework it, and that was expensive. And then I had the shipper calling me, telling me that his consignee, his customers calling him, saying that the driver's like using racial slurs on site, and like the water is all messed up. Like he must have broke hard or accelerated, like broke hard because it was like forward. The water was forward, and it was an absolute just disaster that I'm like, all I did was book a shipment. And it's just like, how do you solve something like that, right? So do you have any
A lot of
experience?
damage
Like,
control.
yeah, a lot of damage control. I think that was the last load we moved for that customer. But and again, it's like, shoot, I didn't technically do like I personally didn't do anything wrong, but you have to own it, right? That's your driver you sent to them. You know, that's your, for the driver's sake, like this is your shipper in Wisconsin you're sending them to. So I mean, do you have experiences like that? And maybe it wasn't just like a horror show as far as at a shipper or consignee, but again, we've talked tickets a little bit, but you've also talked about like breakdowns and accidents. I mean, what are some things that you've experienced that just really
Oh
stand out?
yeah.
Like,
Uh, I loaded steel in a company that I will also not disclose.
yeah, 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 we'll
But
keep it.
and then later on, I just discovered it's like a thing that is happening sometimes whenever you load from there. But I loaded
Hmm.
steel which was already rusty.
Hmm.
They made me tarp fully before I left. I
Yeah.
tarped fully, and then whenever I arrived, they wrote a claim of being wet, but it was rusty before I picked up. Now,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
mistake is I also didn't take a picture. So
Hmm.
that's that. That's how you
And
learn that mistake.
the shipper's not going to back you up.
Oh no, 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 absolutely not, absolutely
No.
not. They
Yeah.
did probably didn't even
Probably
know
on
that
purpose.
it was supposed to be a different quality. They can just
Oh,
put it
really?
on, tarp it, and that's it.
Yeah.
It has to be tarped. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
they know. If it's rusty already, it doesn't really matter
It
to them, I
really
guess.
matter. No. Yeah. That's interesting. So so as TARP, you said they wrote a claim, and what happened? Did they take the product? What happened from there?
Well, they always take the product, but I just
Mhm.
know I got charged a deductible of 2,500 from my paycheck.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
uh,
brutal.
the the cargo insurance deductible for the company that I was working at the moment.
Which is like again in your mind, like oh they'll eat this because I'm working for them, but no, they hit you with it because of the agreement. So this was the same company that you found out these issues with in the first
Oh,
place.
this is the same patterns in multiple companies. You will
Oh,
find in
okay,
most of the companies that um, I've contacted with or worked with, they would work on some sort of a similar matter. Um,
okay,
I mean, it's just the way of the independent contractor, I guess.
gotcha. Yeah. So would you recommend that drivers who are entering into well maybe even company drivers, but if not them, at least owner op, lease purchase ops. Like, do you recommend that they take their agreement before signing it and talk to an attorney or a service like yourself? And are you an attorney, Philip, or do you just have the
No,
network?
I'm not an attorney.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm just a person that knows a lot of attorneys, and basically
Okay.
that's how we operate. You can think of me as uh, if you were about to compare it to a trucking industry, I would say
Yeah.
I have accounts with a lot of those uh, uh, drivers,
Yep.
those lawyers, and I'm dispatching their services.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe like that,
You're a
or
lawyer
I'm
dispatcher.
brokering
You're
I'm
brokering that.
brokering their. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't want to call you dirty names when I by calling you a broker of lawyers, but I was like, I think that's kind of where he's going with it. But okay. So it happens a lot. And then what are you mentioned breakdowns? Like what are and you said that that made you like much more mechanically inclined. Like what are some breakdowns that really stick out that you've
Oh,
had to deal
I
with?
made another poor decision. I bought a list to purchase a very old Freightliner Columbia. That thing
Okay.
was already 10 years old whenever I got it, and it has a million and 100,000 miles.
No,
And
1.1. Oh
it
man.
was a project on wheels.
I
It
bet.
was a project on wheels. So that is what is going to teach you. But another good lesson now that you remind me with the flatbed is that I actually fell down from this trailer while I was strapping. And
Okay.
then later on, I found out that the company that I was working with, and then they terminated my contract, that they didn't had any occupational insurance for me.
What?
Even though, so that's a very important lesson. Contractors, check if you guys have occupational insurance. If you don't have through your company, make sure that you get yourself
You
one.
get it.
It's very
Yeah.
cheap. We even offer options that are through our association, and they're with much better protection for much more affordable prices. You can get it
Mhm.
with us or with anybody else, but make sure you have one because that is what is protecting you in
It's
case like
crazy.
this.
Yeah.
Uh, they would now whenever I had the accident, the second one.
And this is
Uh,
the one. Is this the one that said I can't do this anymore, and you got moving towards CDL Protect, or was it a different one?
so basically, this was the last load. On the same load, I fell down from the trailer and
Uh huh.
then continued driving like that, and then I had the accident.
Oh my. So you
So
hurt yourself on site, and then you had a physical accident in the truck,
yeah,
in
yeah,
old
yeah,
Betsy,
yeah.
like for 1.2 million miles at that point, probably.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I told you the worst luck as a driver. I think I can be classified as the most unluckiest driver out there,
Oh man.
or the most ignorant at the time. But what occupational insurance actually does for the drivers is that they are covering them in those type of situations. For example, you get out of the truck winter time, you slip and fall, or you have an accident with another vehicle. They will cover all of that, and plus they will cover temporary or permanent disability.
Okay, great.
Some of those policies out there, they will cover like $500 per week. Just to, it's still good amount of money for
Something,
you
yeah.
not working anything. While you're at home, at least you will be able to pay your basic expenses. Because most of these truck drivers, their family rely on them. They're the only earner in the family, and if that earner gets hurt, the whole family suffers. Now, this occupational insurance I mentioned, it's cheap. It's really cheap. You can get it like into the pricing between 120 for good ones. I'm talking like those that actually have a decent amount of protection. They even have like a pre-existing conditions, hernia, dental, whatever, and they will run you somewhere from like $125 to $150, which is nothing. Yeah, exactly. And whenever you divide that per week, it comes out to what? Not even $50 per week.
Yeah,
it's like
no, it's like
$40, $30 per
30,
week.
40.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's 125, that'd be $30 a week. So just over. So no, that's fantastic. It's just, 120. I'm terrible at math, so I don't know why you put that.
Me too.
Ahead of time. Don't ask me to do math. But okay, so you fell off the truck. So what'd you hurt? Your back, your shoulder? Like what got hurt?
Oh, I fall down on my side. Basically, I was strapping the load, right? I was strapping the load, and then I slipped down, and I was falling backwards, and like in the middle of the air, somehow cat reflexes, I turned, and I was able to fall down on my side, so I don't like fall down on my back and
head.
I don't even know how I pulled that off. I'm like zero athletic, zero gymnastics. I don't know how I did it, but
survival, baby, just survival.
Later on, that caused me a lot of trouble. Like I had to go years through physical therapy and all of that, and I had to pay everything out of pocket. I had even a curvature in the spine, and like whenever I fall, like it just curved the whole spine on the end. It took me years to actually fix that. Thanks God, it's much better now.
Good. No, I'm happy to hear that, man. So it seemed like when you fell, it seemed like not a big deal. It just got progressively worse.
Exactly.
You said later,
it just didn't felt like as bad as it was. And honestly, to be completely straightforward, the first 3 days, like I didn't feel like I was like in a serious situation. Just got progressively worse and worse and worse, like more tightness, and just by the second week after the accident, I could barely just move out, and I went to chiropractors, physical therapy, a bunch, trigger point massage therapy, some of the muscle relaxers, a bunch of them. But they fixed me up though. That's good.
No, that's very good. So that same ride is when you had your accident. So after you fell,
the ride from hell, yes.
Yeah, so it was probably the accident compounded as well. So I mean, what happened there? Because that's what led you to CDL Protect. So I want to wrap up that story.
Yes,
and then we'll go from there, and we'll finish up with some more CDL Protect.
The accident was the freakiest accidents I ever seen, because it was sunny, no rain, no snow, nothing. California afternoon. And I-5, I was just driving north on I-5 past Sacramento. It's a really straight stretch. So something on my old truck just snapped over here on the right side and pulled me on this side. So reflectively, I overcorrected. So I ended up getting out of the road. And then whenever I was returning the truck on the road, somehow it flipped on my side.
So you went, you started going right, you overcorrected left, and then you came up.
And then whenever I came out on the road, it just flipped me on my side, and I ended up like this, just going like.
You slid too?
Yeah. I was skidding
Wow.
for about maybe a quarter of a mile. But yeah,
Well, such a
yeah,
heavy, I mean, such a
I
heavy
was heavy
vehicle. Yeah.
loaded. I
Going.
was heavy loaded. It was all plywood, those eighty
Yeah.
thousand pounds, basically. And
Jesus. It was in a
when
flatbed.
yeah, my
Yeah.
window was open, and the nightmare
Jesus.
sight was this: never do this, guys. Put your seatbelt on. I wasn't
Yeah.
wearing my seatbelt, so I had to cling
Oh, wow.
onto my steering wheel,
Yeah.
and just by the luck of God, I went out of this accident like nothing more was damaged on me. Like I didn't hurt myself. It was the most uh, landing down type of an accident that I could
Yeah.
have experienced. I think that it was just to get me out of there because maybe I was needed more elsewhere, so I can help some people.
There you
You
go.
know,
No, I like, yeah.
that's
No,
how
that you,
I like to think about it. It was just tracking was a huge school for me.
mhm.
The whole experience. Uh, and I think that that was the graduation day. You have to get out, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost paid off that truck though. I almost paid it off. It was like I had like two more payments.
No
Crazy.
kidding. Well,
Yeah.
at least it didn't saddle you for a long time, right? You had the two more payments and you could just, wipe your hands of it done. But I really
Oh
like
no, I didn't get anything. So basically, my truck got.
scrapped.
So it was a whole mess with that company. So you remember how I told you like no insurance, no
Yeah.
occupational insurance. It
Yeah.
turns
Right.
out that the same company was charging me also for physical damage, but the truck did not have the physical damage. So the towing company still probably has that truck somewhere in their backyard over there in Sacramento.
Jeez.
They
That's
kept it, yeah.
freaking,
I
that's
I
wild.
came out of it with less money than I went into tracking, to be
Oh,
honest.
really?
Yep.
God. All right. So I stand corrected then. Well, that being said, I really like your attitude on it. First, I mean, obviously your back got really jacked up, like you said, but I'm happy that we're here today to talk about it because I mean, if you're flipped over on the left side of the truck and your window's down, you should have been roadkill. Like that's insane. Like
Yeah,
this should have been gone, right? Your left side essentially just part of the road. So
exactly.
very happy that it didn't happen. Second, again, I like your attitude about it because we're all our worst critics, and I know I get in my own head a ton. And I'm very lucky. I've got a wonderful life. Knock on wood. I hope it continues that way. But I do beat myself up a lot. But I've realized now, looking back at it, that I'm in my mid 30s now and beginning to mature slightly. Or shoot, let's not age myself. Mid 30s next birthday. I'm at the end of my early 30s. But just looking back at the stuff where sometimes you're like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I in this job or this situation or why is this happening? It's all preparing you for, like you said, for you it was founding CDL Protect. It was, learning about an industry that beat the crap out of you to start, but put you into a situation, like you said, to advocate and to help others to hopefully either prevent those things for others or help them after the fact so that it doesn't have to be the 15,000 plus just to get to the hospital that you dealt with after that accident, as
Exactly.
you had mentioned to me. So it's just, so that's fantastic that you're doing that. And we've only got a few minutes left, but what else do you want to say? I want to give you the floor here. What else do you want to say, about CDL Protect, if anything, or either how you started it or more about what you can offer people. I know you mentioned in the few questions I asked you to fill out, you mentioned your wife twice. I asked about a shout out. You're like my wife, and I love hearing that. Um, so yeah, I mean, whatever you want to talk about regarding after
Yes.
trucking, right? Like what else do you want to share?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, my wife, Anastasia, actually, she was my first mentor regarding safety and regulations on
Okay.
the trucker side. She's very capable and certified director of safety, which would be like the highest position that you can have over there in the safety in the trucking safety.
So you
And
met her as a driver.
no, I met her after I stopped driving.
Oh, you met her
Let's
after you
put it that
stopped
way.
driving. Okay.
Yes,
That
yes,
is
yes.
funny. That's funny. Okay.
6 foot tall, Serbian, gorgeous. Yes.
Dude, sir,
Uh,
I worked with
very
Serbian
well.
girls when I was younger. The most fun and some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. I love my
Indeed.
girlfriend to death. She's Puerto Rican, the most beautiful woman in the world. Emily, don't come for me. But anyways, yes, serving girls are not ugly. Continue.
Yes. So basically, we opened this company for safety, right? And
Okay.
over there, we were kind of helping carriers mostly, but we had to solve a lot of drivers' the the problems that the drivers are getting. So
Hmm.
basically, that was just like one more step of the thing over here. But I want to actually leave just this one on a cliffhanger and ask you one question. What do you
Okay.
think about this? Are you familiar with unmasking laws or
Un-
anti-masking laws of the
Untied
FMC?
masking laws.
No, anti-masking laws,
Oh,
like against.
anti-masking laws.
Yes, exactly. I'm
Okay,
sorry
and
for
are
my
we?
pronunciation.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I wish I
You
had
have to
an
put some
accent. You have
subtitles there.
no, yeah, right. Is that right? No, no, you're fine. People can't understand what I can't understand myself sometimes. So anti-masking. Are you talking physical? Well, maybe I'm asking too
No,
many
no, no.
questions.
So basically, this is
The
pertaining
short answer is no. I don't know.
on the violations that drivers are getting. Now, there has
Okay.
been some laws that have been put out. This is from a while ago, 2016, were made super powerful, these laws under Obama.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
that doesn't even matter. The effect that they have is this. Basically, they want to prevent any sort of a recourse for a violation that has been given out to a truck driver.
Hmm.
Now, if you probably know the Constitution, and
Yep.
there is, I believe, the Sixth Amendment that is actually guaranteeing a fair right of due process over there, or it was the 14th. I'm not sure,
Let me see.
but
But the
this
Sixth
is
Amendment
against that
protects the
one.
rights of the accused in criminal trials. Or you said the 14th. You said due process. I think you're right.
Due process, yeah.
Due process.
So basically, the right of due process, that
Fifth and
law.
14th.
Yeah, okay. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
So basically, those anti-masking laws are basically forcing the state DOTs to write citations and violation in the way that they cannot be changed for truck drivers and for trucking companies.
Mm.
And I think that there should be a certain discussion over there because truck drivers seem to be singled out, and this doesn't seem like it's a right thing to just stop somebody from having their right being heard at court.
I like that. Okay. So you actually mentioned this in the beginning. I think this will be a good way to wrap it then. You mentioned in the beginning that you feel that drivers, for whatever reason, and I'll use my own term, a different term, get the short end of the stick in a lot of situations. And you just
Yes,
talked about anti-masking laws here, where you feel that laws need to be rewritten a bit to help drivers because of the iniquity of their situation. Why do you feel, and this is an open-ended question, everybody's got their own opinion, but why do you feel that drivers aren't as appreciated as they could be? Again, loaded question. So why do you think that happens, and what can we do? What do you think is a first good step to change it? Because otherwise, we'll be here for another 3 hours talking about it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, let me just think about it for a
Yeah,
second. I want to articulate this.
this is where I need to get better at putting in, like, I need to learn how to edit like the Jeopardy music in while people think about things.
That would be a
I'll work
good
on
idea.
that. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
would be a
I'm
good idea.
working on it. I'm working on it.
Why I think that well, I can only see like the consequences. What it would be the reasons behind the individual's actions in each case. I don't know, but it seems like there is least. Um, they they have seemingly the least amount of power and the least amount of support going through those processes.
Hmm.
Even if they want to file a claim against or they want to go and defend their rights, usually the processes are too complicated for a truck driver to have time or to know those things. Those things are just not common knowledge. Um, for example, uh, how to write a plea, how to write a demand letter, how to ask your things from this carrier. that there, which law is protecting you? Are there any laws that are protecting you, right? It seems like it's lacking a lot of education in that part. And I think that if drivers knew better what they can do without abusing their rights that now they know about, because that will create a whole other catastrophe. Remember, we want to keep the balance, because if the balance in trucking is lost, everybody is losing in the industry. If the if the fleets cannot make the money, the drivers cannot get the pay. If the drivers don't work, if they're out of the system, the whole economy suffers because of logistics. We all were witness about that during the pandemic and right afterwards. It became a problem, right? Now, I think that we should take care of these guys and not of this industry in general, because it's bringing a lot on the table. Like literally everything is bringing everything to a table.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really great point, and I think again we could go down so many avenues. We might need to part two this thing, but you bring up a good point, which is actually just creating like more questions and more topics in my head. But that being said, I know you just had a drive fighting traffic, not in a semi, but either way, driving fighting traffic before hopping on with me. So I appreciate that. Before we go, I'd like to ask, like, hey, are there any other shout outs you'd like to give? And then since we kind of jumped around a bit, give like your 30-second to minute just pitch about what CDL Protect is and does for drivers and, or anybody else maybe. I mean, of course, it sounds like it's specifically drivers, but again, any final shout outs you want to give, where people can find you, and it just, again, that little 30 seconds about your company, because I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So our website is www.cdl.club. You can write us over there on the chat. There is a phone number over there that you can reach us at. If you have any questions, any situations that we can review, we are offering those free consultations for drivers that need that. And basically, we're here to help the drivers and the fleets the most we can with those situations.
Great, fantastic. Okay. Anything else out? I didn't cut you off, did I? Terrible Northeastern habit.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate the invitation. And yes, I will be down for a part two if ever the opportunity arises, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. We're young into this podcast. You'll be our 10th episode. I'm dropping 3 Tuesdays from when we're recording. We do every other week right now. But everybody, that's Philip Gocev. Really appreciate you coming on. I'll say, Philip, to your credit, I'm in a lot of shows, a lot of industry shows, working at Revenova, of course, selling TMS. And you see all sorts of different types of technology pop up, and AI is the buzzword right now. And I know your company's about 2 years old.
Well, it's more than that, but it was known as something else before. We did rebrand that 2020 or 2021. I'm not sure.
Okay, so
maybe I'm not sure.
Gotcha. So I stand corrected. The company's been around longer than I thought. However, my point being that I see a lot of tech coming up, and the joke is always, okay, who's still here, who's not, right? And you aren't coming out saying like, hey, I have this fantastic AI tool, right? You're not screaming AI from the rooftops. What you're doing is you're taking a needed service, something that really needs to happen and can really help. Seemingly, it sounds like it's going to really help drivers just to make them, for lack of a better term, maybe just sleep better at night. And maybe the newer drivers feel more comfortable starting this journey as a driver, and even maybe more seasoned vets, just somebody else they know that they can have in their corner to back them up should, God forbid, something goes wrong. So it's really cool to see people coming up with services that can really help people, and not knocking any of the newer trends, but not just going with the fad, really thinking about what could help logistics as an industry. And you nailed it earlier. So thanks so much, Philip. And I do look forward to the next time we chat. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Much appreciated. Until next time.
Until next time.